Somewhere in a vault at Yale University, there is a book that no one on earth can read. It has survived 6 centuries. It has defeated the greatest code breakers in history. And the more we study it, the less we understand it. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it should not exist. Let us start at the beginning, or at least what we think is the beginning. The year is 1912. A rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich is sifting through a collection of old manuscripts at a Jesuit college in Italy, the Villa Mondragone near Rome. Most of what he finds is unremarkable, dusty, predictable, the usual debris of history. And then he pulls out something that stops him cold, a small book, roughly 9 inches by 6, written on vellum made from calfskin. Its pages covered from margin to margin in a script that no living person recognizes. Between the alien text, illustrations, plants that do not exist in nature, astronomical diagrams of unknown systems, tiny naked figures bathing in green pools connected by elaborate pipe networks, and stars. So many stars, arranged in ways that match nothing in the known heavens. Voynich knows immediately that he is holding something extraordinary. He buys it. He spends the rest of his life trying to decode it and fails completely. When he dies in 1930, the manuscript remains as silent and impenetrable as the day he found it. He donates it to Yale, and Yale locks it away, and the mystery deepens. Now here's where the story becomes genuinely strange. The Voynich manuscript does not behave like a hoax. Hoaxes are sloppy. They fall apart under scrutiny. But this manuscript, the closer you look, the more sophisticated it becomes. Statistical analysis of the text reveals that it follows Zipf's law. This is a mathematical principle that governs natural human language. The frequency of words, the patterns of repetition, the rhythm of the script, it all mirrors the structure of a real language, not a fake one, not random noise arranged to look like writing, something that carries the deep mathematical signature of genuine human communication. This was one of the first revelations that shook the academic world, because it meant one of two things. Either whoever created this manuscript understood linguistics at a level centuries ahead of their time, or this thing actually says something real, something waiting to be understood. The manuscript has been carbon dated. The vellum itself originates from the early 15th century, somewhere between 1404 and 1438. The ink is consistent with that period. This is not a Victorian forgery. This is not a Renaissance prank. Whatever this book is, it was created over 600 years ago by someone who invested enormous time, skill, and intention into its creation. But here's the second revelation, and this one changes everything. For decades, researchers assumed the Voynich script was a cipher, an encrypted version of a known language, Latin perhaps, or Hebrew, or Arabic, scrambled beyond recognition. The greatest cryptanalysts of the 20th century took their shot at it. During World War II, American code breakers who had cracked Nazi encryption systems turned their expertise on the manuscript. They failed. NSA analysts looked at it during the Cold War. They failed. A man named William Friedman, widely considered the greatest cryptologist who ever lived, spent years on the Voynich manuscript. He believed he was close. He died without a solution. But in 2017, a linguistics researcher named Stephen Bax made a claim that cracked the silence open just slightly. By analyzing the illustrations alongside the text, he identified what he believed were proper nouns, words that corresponded to plants and stars depicted in the drawings. He proposed the language might be a form of Semitic or Proto-Romance language, possibly something from the medieval Middle East. He decoded approximately 14 words before he died in 2017, leaving his work unfinished. 14 words out of an estimated 35,000, and those 14 words pointed somewhere no one expected. They pointed toward a world of medieval Islamic scholarship, of herbalism and astronomy and mystical cosmology. A world where knowledge was encoded, not to hide it from enemies, but to protect it from those who would destroy it. Because in the 15th century, certain kinds of knowledge were dangerous, heretical, the kind of thing that could get a person burned. Which brings us to the third revelation, the one that may be the darkest of all. Hidden within the manuscript's history is a letter, a single letter discovered tucked inside the cover when Voynich first acquired it. Written in Latin by a man named Johannes Marcus Marci, dated 1666. Marci was a physician in Prague. He was sending the manuscript to a famous scholar named Athanasius Kircher, begging him to decode it. And in that letter, Marcy reveals something extraordinary. He says the manuscript had once been purchased by Emperor Rudolph II of the Holy Roman Empire. The price paid was reportedly 600 gold ducats, an absolutely astronomical sum, a fortune by any measure of that era. Rudolph II was no ordinary collector. He was obsessed with the occult, with alchemy, with the forbidden edges of human knowledge. His court in Prague was filled with astrologers and alchemists and mystics. He owned the most powerful collection of strange artifacts in the world, and he paid more for this book than most people would see in a lifetime. Why? What did Rudolph believe was inside it? Some researchers believe the manuscript is a medical text, an encoded pharmacopoeia of herbal remedies and treatments. The botanical illustrations, strange as they are, might represent real plants depicted symbolically or through an unfamiliar artistic tradition. The bathing women, the flowing pipes, possibly anatomical, possibly gynecological knowledge, the kind of women's medical wisdom that the church actively suppressed and destroyed. Others believe it goes further, that the astronomical charts represent a cosmological system, a view of the universe drawn from a tradition completely outside the European mainstream, a tradition that someone, somewhere, decided was too dangerous to leave legible. And then there is the theory that keeps emerging no matter how many times it is dismissed. The theory that the Voynich Manuscript is not from this world's history at all. Not in the sense of extraterrestrial origin, but in the sense that it may represent a culture, a tradition, a branch of human civilization that we have entirely lost. A community of scholars or mystics or healers who developed their own written language, their own botanical knowledge, their own astronomical system, and who then vanished completely, leaving nothing behind except this one impossible book. If that is true, then the Voynich Manuscript is not just a mystery. It is a tombstone, the last surviving artifact of a people we will never know. Every few years, someone announces a breakthrough, a solution, a key. The headlines flash across the internet. Researchers claim to have found the language, claim to have decoded the first paragraph. And every single time, the academic community examines the work and finds it incomplete, wishful. The manuscript resists. As of today, the Voynich Manuscript remains the most studied and least understood document in human history. Over 100 serious scholarly papers have been published about it, dozens of books, countless theories, and still, not a single verified decoded sentence, not one confirmed word that everyone agrees upon. It sits in the Beinica Library at Yale, cataloged as MS-408. You can view high-resolution scans of every page on the internet right now, tonight. You could open them and stare at the same symbols that have defeated the greatest minds of 6 centuries. And somewhere in those pages, in those impossible plants and naked figures and alien stars, something is waiting. The question that haunts every researcher who has ever touched this manuscript is not whether it can be decoded. The question is what happens when it finally is. Because whoever wrote this went to extraordinary lengths to make sure it could not be easily read. They were hiding something, protecting something, something important enough to encode in an unknown script, illustrate with impossible imagery, and send out into the world inside a book designed to outlast empires. What did they know that we do not? What were they afraid would happen if anyone found out? The Voynich Manuscript has been waiting 600 years for someone to answer those questions. Maybe